Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 346 of School Librarians United. I am your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian in my 19th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is at LMS_United on Threads and Instagram. You can find me at School Librarians United and on Blue Sky at SLU Podcast or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. And now for today's episode, Elementary STEAM and Computer Science, and my conversation with Kannan Cangro. Friends, I'm so excited. Kannan Cangro, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Amy. How's it going?
Really terrific, thank you. This is Thanksgiving Eve week.
It is.
Yeah. Yes, it's a nice short week for a lot of us. Let me ask you, do you have school this week or no?
We do. Monday, Tuesday. We'll be in there. We'll be there.
Same.
Yeah.
We have school Monday, Tuesday, and but I know a lot of folks are off this week.
Those lucky ducks.
Yes, absolutely. I thank you very much. I thought I was the last person on the planet saying lucky duck. Oh, all right. So, listen, Kannan, would you let us know, tell us about yourself, about your library, the grades you serve, and, well, today is all about some of the programs you offer, so let's dive right in.
Sure. So I am a K through 6 elementary librarian. This is my 8th year. I'm in the middle of my 8th year. Before I was a librarian, I was an art teacher for 7.5 years. So my background is not as a classroom teacher or a core subject teacher at all. So I'm coming to librarianship from a different way. I work in Northern Virginia. We are a suburb of Washington, D.C. In my district, we're the 9th largest school district in the country, and we have about 250 librarians. So we're a very large district with a lot of librarians, a lot of amazing librarians. My school, I'm a solo show. I have about 560 students. We are a full inclusion school, so I don't have any self-contained classes. All my kids are inclusion-based. They may get pull-out, but they are inclusion. We do not have preschool, which is uncommon for my district. And just a random factoid, one of the specials my students have, we have a foreign language in the elementary school, but the foreign language they all learn is Mandarin, Chinese. So that's just like an interesting factoid about my school. I offer a lot of programs at my school, predominantly a lot of librarian stuff, obviously regular library stuff. I have incorporated STEAM into my library. This is the 7th year that I'm doing STEAM in the library. We do not have a STEAM teacher. Some schools have a STEM teacher. We do not. So between myself and the advanced academics resource teacher, the two of us are the STEAM teacher and the librarian and the advanced academics resource teacher. So we do both. Other quick things that I offer, I do a lot of makers and a lot of makerspace stuff. That's probably because I used to be an art teacher, so it just comes a little naturally. I'm on a fixed flex schedule. So my fixed schedule is all of kindergarten through 4th grade fixed, 30 minutes a week. My flex schedule is 5th and 6th grade. They come for checkout only, but they come every week. So I do see them at least 15 to 20 minutes a week. So that's kind of my school. I'll just plug one really proud thing I am of something, Amy, that has nothing to do with STEAM. This year, I am planning our 4th True Book Fair, annual True Book Fair. And I'm super proud of it. And all our students leave with 2 brand new books right before the summer. And It's amazing, and I'm so proud of the program I've made. So that's just like one thing I do. I do a ton of things, but yeah, I'm a solo show. I don't have any assistants. I have parent volunteers, but otherwise it's just me, myself, and I.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So I want to follow up on a couple things here.
Yeah.
First of all, so I'm so curious to know, because you mentioned that Mandarin is one of the things that your students are all exposed to. They all learn from K through six. K through 6. Has any of that found its way into your collection?
We have some simplified Chinese books, mostly bilingual, because believe it or not, most of our students are learning conversational Mandarin over written Mandarin. They know some written Mandarin, but most of it is conversational. So we have a lot of those bilingual books. But more than the simplified Chinese books, we have more Spanish books in our collection, because that's the majority of our multilingual learners. Spanish is a predominant language. So we have that. And my school has about 12 different languages of students who are currently being served for multilingual. So we have Dari, Uzbek, Bangla, which is from Bangladesh, and we have some Vietnamese, and Spanish, and some Portuguese this year. So yeah, so all that's in the collection too.
And I mean, are you putting those? Are those integrated? Do you have bins? You're
I
doing
have bins. So we have
Yeah.
bins, and so the Spanish section is completely separate. It just says Spanish books, fiction, nonfiction, and then the other books, it just is world languages. We just call it world languages. Yeah,
love it. Oh, that's amazing. So you started to answer a question that I had, and that is, how does the art teacher in you come out in your program? So, it's there.
And it's funny because everyone thinks I must make the most incredible displays. Spoiler, I do not. I don't like displays. I make simple displays. I do things in Canva or things like that. But the art teacher comes out with me in that I am very routine-based in the way I teach. Everything is a routine. I'm very focused on routines. If you've never taught elementary art, or those of you who've done science labs, or it's all about a routine. Like, how are we going to set it up? How are we going to clean it up? So that comes out that way. My foray into STEAM, so before I became an art teacher, when I first went to college, I went to engineering school because I thought I could be a doctor. Don't ask me. That was not in my forecast. But I did go to engineering school for 2 years. So engineering wasn't something completely new to me. And then I went to art school and I did my whole undergraduate in art. I became an art teacher. I had my master's of teaching for art education. And then I came to librarianship. So it's been a kind of winding journey, but I feel like because of that journey, that's where I am as a teacher, and I'm more holistic as a result. But yeah.
Love it. It's again, for so many of us, librarianship is a second career or even a third career, but we've sort of evolved into this career, and our path towards this has always taken an interesting turn. But I'm so glad we've landed.
For sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is my final act.
This is it for me. I've never looked back. I've never said, hey, I wish I was an art teacher again. No, I never have. I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the building. It's a wonderful place to be. I have a very good friend who calls himself, he's a librarian, and he says, I'm Santa Claus. What's there not to like? He's like, I just give things away, give away lessons, I give away collaboration, I give away books, but then I say bring them back. But still, I'm like Santa Claus, and I've taken that analogy pretty far. So yeah, we're the Santa Claus of the building.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a really cute way of thinking about that.
Right?
Yeah. No, I just, no, I absolutely see our role as being very unique. I mean, our schools need us, because how many people in your building start, greet everybody at the door with, what can I do for you today? Like, I'm sorry, it's very rare that you meet somebody in your school whose first thought is, what can I do for you? Because you are here in the space where I work. And it's like, that's my job, is just to make sure that you have what you need. And that, you're right. It is a very, giving, our giving spirit is something that inhabits us year round. So, well, and I'll be honest, this is my final act because we also had 3 kids who had to go to college too. And so, and thankfully I don't have any interest in getting a PhD, or a doctorate.
Nor do I. I'm done.
Nope. This is it. Yeah. This is what I'm doing for fun now. So awesome. So I love that you and I have crossed paths. I think we were both in St. Louis at AASL 25, and we did cross paths there as well, because I was then in Virginia, and that's your conference. And was that 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later?
It was about 2.5 weeks, Amy. Yeah, because ASL ended on the 18th and VASL started on the 5th.
But I'll tell you what, it was an absolute whirlwind of a couple weeks, because I sort of came home from AASL and sort of unpacked, but I didn't put my luggage away. Yeah.
Same. It was really easy to pack for the next one. Yeah, it was super easy. For me also, it was a little bit of like a hangover because I spent so much wonderful time with so many librarians within a month period that all of a sudden you come back to your building and you're a solo show again. And you're like, oh, wah, wah. Like here I am by myself again.
I don't know. I have what does bring a smile to my face are the badges. We wear the badge at our conference, and I have my little badge shrine, and I do.
Do you? That's
I put
amazing.
It up, really sort of in a space where I can see it when I'm in my office, and really sometimes when you do get that moment of frustration when you feel like nobody really understands you, you do have to go back and remember that when you go to your state conference, when you go to your national conference, that is where you are around friends. That is where you are surrounded by true colleagues who know exactly what your life is like. And so, no, I absolutely like that. My bucket is filled when I go to these state conference and national conference. And that to me is my self-care. When I want to invest in myself professionally, those conferences.
Sometimes I have to like hold myself back because you leave with so many great ideas and you're like, I want to do that, and that. And you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm only one person. So any project I take on is just me. So let's see what we can do right now. What can we do in 6 months? What can we do?
Friends, this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited that you and I have this opportunity to connect selfishly. For me is, there were so many sessions going on at AASL 25 in St. Louis, and one of them is the conversation we're going to have today. And I knew that it would be a fantastic conversation to share with our listeners. There are so many librarians who work in the elementary schools who know that what they want to do is start to build upon their programs that they currently teach. And this is one of those great conversations because you so generously are going to share all of your resources from the national conference presentation. So friends, please understand that when a proposal is submitted at the national level, the kind of scrutiny that it goes through, and friends, I'll be perfectly honest, as somebody who regularly does not get their conference proposals accepted, what I can do selfishly is ask these amazing school librarians to be on the show, share what they did, because you're sort of going to double dip here, Kannan. All the work that you put into putting this presentation, appreciated by our listening community, and very gratefully so.
Yeah, and I hope that if anything, that any elementary librarian who's like, hey, that sounds cool, you can turn around and do this next week. You don't need a ton of money. You don't actually need any money. So what I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you how to do it. So what I presented at ASL was how to incorporate STEAM and computer science into your elementary library on any budget. Literally any budget. So yeah, we'll totally talk about that today, and I will share all my resources with you. And I'm always welcome. You're always welcome to reach out to me. Happy to help where I can.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's dive right in. It is this STEAM and computer science in our library program, specifically in this case, elementary. And, let's talk a little bit about really what got you jump started into this, because,
Sure.
for a lot of people, it is something that they've learned about at a conference, and they are, wanting to expand. But for you personally, you've been at your school now this is your 8th year.
This is my 8th year in the library. I've been in my school for 15 years. This is my 15th year in our school.
Yeah. So where were you in your school library journey when you said?
So when I started like my STEAM kind of foray, I was still in the art room. And to me, like STEAM, I was like, oh, well, the A in STEAM is art. It counts, right? And so I was in library school when this was happening. So it's not like I wasn't learning about librarianship. My husband bought a TV. How many husbands buy TVs? Lots of TVs. And in the TV was packing material, these like little cardboard triangles. They were just cardboard and they were triangles, and there was a ton of them, like a ton, in this very large box for the TV. And my husband was like about to throw them all out. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what? And I was like, I'm going to take him to school. So I took 5 huge garbage bags of these like cardboard triangles. I'm like, I'm going to do something with my kids with these. And so I realized we could probably use them as building materials. And so with my kindergartners and first graders, I think right before Christmas is when the TV purchase happened. So the week before winter break, we all built with these cardboard triangles. And I was like, oh, this is super fun. We're going to do this. And then my administrator that spring had a class that she needed to put somewhere else. And she was like, can I put them in the art room? So I was already seeing these kids for an hour, and then she wanted them another half an hour in the art room, which happens to us in library land all the time. So I was like, I will do it can you purchase me some materials? And I said, they're not consumables. I would like materials that I can use year after year. So she agreed, and I just did centers. There was no real like lesson plans or anything. We were just doing centers. It was a first grade class, and we would do straws and connectors, and I had some of the pine Keva Planks. I had like a marble run. I had Play-Doh, and it was like 6 stations that I did, and I did it for the rest of the year, and I loved it. And then that was kind of it for me, like in the art room. I became a librarian in March of 2018, so it happened right in the middle of the year. I was an art teacher. I had told my administrator, hey, this is the year I'm going to go and look for a library. I think I'm done with the art room. And she was like, so our librarian just got a promotion. And so she's leaving. So can you become our librarian? And I was like, yeah, great. So in September, she was like, no, like in 2 weeks. So, and by the way, can you write sub-plans for the art room? So I wrote sub-plans for the art room for the rest of the year from March 15th to June, which was not difficult, but I did it. And then I just went into the library. It was my own school. It was my own students. So at least I didn't have to learn that, but it was different. And so I went into the library. That there was no STEAM learning happening then. Then came the fall. And our pyramid, that's what we refer to as like our high school and all the feeder schools as a pyramid. Our pyramid got a Boeing grant. I don't know how. I don't know who applied for it. I still don't know. Nobody can tell me. We got a grant from Boeing. And part of the grant was that all the feeder schools had to have access to STEAM and STEAM learning. And Boeing was buying materials. And I wasn't included on the initial conversation, right? As one does. Like, we get put into a lot of things in the library at the 11th hour. So at the 11th hour, and they were meeting in my library, y'all. You know, when they meet in your library and you can just eavesdrop. So they were talking about how they had gotten these Lego We Do kits, and they were talking about these Ozobots they got. And they had also gotten Lego EV3s. And I'm trying to think what other material we had. I think those were the only 3 at the time. And they needed as many students as possible to have exposure. Well, the tech teacher only saw so many people, and the advanced academics teacher only saw so many people, but I saw a lot of them. I saw almost all of them. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. What do I have to do? I'll do it. Because to me, I was like, hey, cool, here's this thing I can do with my students where materials are given to me. I saw Legos, and kids love Legos. So they were like, great, what grade levels can you do? So I did like a couple of grade levels, and we all did some grade levels. As a result, I work in a very large district, and I know that most librarians are not as lucky as we are. We actually have a STEAM department in our district. So the STEAM people would come to our school, and they'd help us with lessons, and they'd help us with some lesson planning. But I had a unique situation as a librarian versus the tech teacher or the advanced academics teacher. I see kids for 30 minutes, but they need to check out. So our instructional time is much shorter. So, you're kind of like, okay, how am I going to figure this out? And so, but I did it. And so we did Ozobots. And as a result, I was trying things with kids that I wouldn't normally because I just had access to the materials. That's kind of how it started. And then the Boeing grant is long gone. We don't have any more money. They didn't buy us any more equipment. COVID happened. I mean, there's a lot of things since then. But the learning hasn't stopped, and my interest in STEAM didn't stop. Our advanced academics resource teacher, her interest in STEAM didn't stop. Our tech teacher kind of bowed out. She's like, I'm doing other things. We're like, cool, you do you. So she and I kept going, and we wrote grants together. I wrote grants by myself. She's gotten materials. I've gotten materials. Our PTA has been very generous and bought us materials. So since then, we've gotten a lot of materials. We've gotten Finches, microbit circuit board. I mean, there's a lot. And I don't want any librarian listening to this going, oh my God, I have no money. I can't do any of this. Because the truth is, there are times in the year where I have to push into the classroom and I'm not taking all this stuff with me. And so I have also just raided the math closet. And that's the advice I would give to someone who's like, I want to do this next week. Go raid the math closet, y'all. They got all sorts of fun stuff in there that nobody's using. So Unifix cubes are my favorite. They build and they connect to each other. They use them in math for like places and counting. I love the Unifix cubes. The other thing is don't ask permission. Just take them. And if someone wants them, they'll come ask for them. Right? So that's my kind of philosophy with this. I'm like, nobody's using them, especially now. It's November. If they wanted them, they would be out of the math closet by now. So I borrowed, quote unquote, the Unifix cubes. They had pattern blocks, so I took those. They had, there was different things in the math closet that I borrowed with time. I've also just raided the office supply closet for index cards and tape. Index cards and tape are my favorite. Those are my two favorite building things. But you can also do paper and paper clips and things like that. And so in this whole journey, I've learned that there's an engineering design process. And the engineering design process is you make a plan. You plan it out. You have a problem. You make a plan. Then you build for the plan. Then you need to refine the plan. Then you improve the plan. And then you build again. To me, that sounded like the writing process. We make a plan. We write an essay. We edit the essay. We make it better. I was like, oh, my kids know how to do this. I know how to do this. We all know how to do this. In the library, we don't get through all the engineering process. We don't get through all of it. I'm lucky if I get to refinement. We usually don't even get to refinement. So usually we get to make a plan, build something, and then we talk about refinement and talk about improvement. We just talk about it because we don't have time. But so a lot of the time, I raid all the things. June, when everyone's cleaning out, go talk to that teacher who's leaving the building. They got all this stuff in their closets, y'all. Like, it's lovely. They have cardstock that there's only a half a pack, and they have paper clips. And some of them put them all in the teacher's lounge, but some of them just stick it in the hallway. There's bins. You can just take bins, markers. And so I will often walk up and down the hallway in June and see who's getting rid of what. That's how I got these amazing labels for mailing. That was in the old school printers that have the holes on the side. I got a whole big box of those, and I use them with our Ozobots to like cover up mistakes. I call it programming whiteout, and we just cover it up. So there's a lot of things like that where I've just kind of gained things with time. Now, our Lego WeDos have been sunset by Lego. EV3s have also been sunset by Lego. Now it's Lego Spike. Those things are so stupid expensive. But we're still going with the WeDos. They're still working on the laptops. They don't support them, but they're still working on them. Our students are one-to-one, so I do have that privilege. But they don't all need a laptop because they almost always work in pairs. So one thing I do is, one of the things I really love about STEAM learning is the collaboration aspect is key. They have to work together. And I actually think that's more important than their STEAM learning, is we're giving students this purposeful, motivated thing to work together and work together with someone they didn't pick. I never let them pick their partners, like ever. They might hate me, but that's okay. Sorry, friends. I ask the classroom teacher for help. I'll say, hey, can you help me make pairs? But the reason I do it is because they're learning a skill. They're learning how to collaborate. And even with my littles, they're like, my kindergartners, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about collaboration. Collaboration is when we work together. And then when they line up, my reflection with them is so easy. I'll be like, who can tell me who was a good collaborator today? How? And so they have to talk about somebody else. They have to talk about someone else and how they were a good collaborator. We do this with a lot of things. We have a whole portrait of a graduate thing at my school where you have to be, not my school, my whole district, where you have to be a collaborator and a critical and creative thinker. And there's a lot of skills you have to have, which is incorporated in all of learning. But it's really great with STEAM. And what I love about it is you don't always need a computer. I do a lot of unplugged things. One of my favorites is this monster drawing lesson. I do it around Halloween. And the names of the parts of the monster are words, and you have to go back to back. I'd make them go back to back. I don't know what the instructions are. But it's all on, I think it's on Codable. Let me just double check. I think it's Codable or Code.org. It's on Code.org. Code.org Unplugged it's called Monsters. I think Monsters Drawing. They give you the whole lesson. And so I make them go back to back, and they have to describe the monster to someone else, and they have to draw it, and then vice versa. And you would think like, oh, they're not going to be into it. There's no computers, there's no bots. They are so into it. They're like, anything that makes you do something kind of silly, I think kids are into. Heck, adults are into that. So yeah, I do a unplugged stuff. It's usually successful. And then I'm also somebody who's just willing to try something. Like, hey, let's try it. Let's see how it goes. Oh, well, that was a big fluke. Or that was very successful, right? One or the other. But the truth of the matter is there's not a lot of people coming in to check in on me. So I tried out. Let's see how it goes.
So many things. First
Yeah.
of all, I love the happy accident
Yeah.
of you being in the room. And for so many of us, sometimes people forget we're in the room. Like, I'm sorry, this is the library. This is the Learning Commons. This is the Media Center. We are there. It's not like our ears stop working. It's sort of like the children when they're in there and, when they're talking, you're like, I can hear you, right?
Yeah, I know.
or mine will just come down the hall, and because of sound travels,
Of course.
I'll answer their questions while sitting in the learning I'll sit in the Learning Commons, and they'll be saying something ridiculous, and I'll chime in, and they're like, we're having a conversation. I said, we can hear you in here too.
Yeah.
So, but I love that because you're in the room. They seem to think that this wouldn't at all interest you? I don't know. I mean, thank you for raising your hand. And
I think sometimes when in a building, they have a focus, they get so hyper-focused, they don't even think sometimes outside the box. I don't think I always think positive intent. I never think someone excluded me because they wanted to. Maybe they thought I was a new librarian. I can't handle something new. There's a lot of things that could have happened before I got there. However, I was there and I volunteered, and I volunteer a lot for things that happen in the library because sometimes they sound really cool, and other times I disappear because I don't want anything to do with it. So but the truth of the matter is, especially on an elementary school, the library is like the meeting place. It's either library or cafeteria. So one or the other. And so we get to be privy to a lot of things going on in our building, whether we want to be or not.
Yeah, I call it the family room. It's
for
the
sure.
school's family room. It's the third space.
Yeah.
And or it's sometimes for some of them it's the transit lounge, because my older students are going back and forth to the community college and to our technical center, and so we definitely it's a transit lounge because they come in, but the next class hasn't started, and we've got to have them in a holding place so that they're not being disruptive in the hallway. But it is interesting because when you realize how much we are privy to, and that it is entirely possible, especially with your educators, they may not see us as having a role in whatever it is they're talking about. Yeah. And there is a way to sort of maneuver into that conversation, especially when you have an opportunity to relieve them of some of the expectation of carrying the full, I don't like to use the word burden, but oftentimes many of these initiatives have been imposed on us.
Yeah.
Many of these dictate, they come from on high. You get these initiatives that are being brought in at the state level and at the district level, and then their job is to somehow realize that vision at the building level. And if we're part of that solution, all of a sudden we become far more ingrained and integral to what the other classes are doing, and we're seen as a partner in learning. And for me, that's vital. You and I know that we have we can always enhance whatever's going on. I sometimes call us we're like the frosting on the cake. What's happening, the teaching, that's the cake. But if you have a librarian, we can all of a sudden make it a whole lot, we can bring this to a whole new level with the skills and the resources that we have access to. Yeah. So I think that's amazing. I love that you also, and I want to back up just a bit because you're talking about unplugged. Yeah. And for people who are tuning in, could you give us an idea of what is unplugged and how is it an important part of the STEAM program? Because so many of us equate STEAM with the stuff.
Yes. And a lot of people think STEAM is like robots, or STEAM is circuit boards, or like makey-makeys. And the truth is, for me, unplugged is anything you don't need a device. Although technically, I think unplugged usually refers to computer science where you don't need a device. But I think anything you don't need a device is unplugged. So if you're using Legos, to me, that's unplugged. If you're using index cards and tape, to me, that's unplugged. I sometimes it's one of my favorite lessons with first grade, we program a dance. And so I just give them little printed out arrows and cards. And I say, hey, make up a move that someone else can do for these cards, and let's program your dance. And then they put down the cards and someone else has to try to dance the dance. It's hilariously funny. It's also the best thing to do in June. Because how else am I keeping their attention in June, right? And at that point, you don't even want the books to leave anymore because you're like, I need your books back, bring them back, right? And so that's, but when I refer to unplugged, it means you do not need a device. You can do it with straws. And, I talk about straws and connectors, and that is a thing. You can also just use plastic straws. You don't need connectors. The other thing is, often librarians think, well, I don't have enough Keva Planks for the whole class. I don't have enough Legos for the whole class. Great. I know a lot of librarians do book fairs with Scholastic. Scholastic has a ton of stuff you can get in their catalogs to use, and you don't need a whole class set. Get a few different things, but give them the same challenge. So one way I do this is I read I read The Three Little Pigs to my kindergartners, and then I challenge them to make a house as a pair of four using whatever material they have. And then we use a fan and we try to blow it down, right? That's the whole thing. So there's also a literacy component. Don't think you have to get rid of the books. For the monster, there is the book, The Monster's Monster. And so I read them that book, and then we do the monster unplugged. You don't have to get rid of the books, my librarian friends. Everyone's always afraid. We're not going to read to them anymore. We're going to read to them. I promise we will read to them. But yeah, so when I do unplugged, it just means you don't need a device. I don't have any devices in the library besides my card catalogs, which there's only 3. So during testing season, a lot of times they can't bring a device because they're testing. I'm very lucky, like I know not every librarian is, but I'm very lucky my administrator does not shut the library for testing. I know, I'm so privileged. You guys, I know. I'm a unicorn. I'm sorry. But yes, my library is not shut during standardized state testing at the end of the year, but they can't bring their devices. So that's a lot of the times where I bring in the unplugged components for sure.
So I know I've mentioned this one before, but one of my, I guess it was a STEM program that I really like that has that book component is April Jones's 21 Elephants and Still Standing.
Oh, I love that one.
And it's a very sweet story about P.T. Barnum and the Brooklyn Bridge and trying to reassure the humans that the bridge was going to stay intact when the humans went over. So they brought the elephants over the bridge, but you could very easily make the bridge. My son was working in 3D printing, still is. That's, it's a perfect example of how a hobby becomes a career.
Yes.
So yes. So now at 20, almost 24 is doing robotics and 3D printing and lasers and all that. But it started off with one of those real sort of basic 3D printers that you had in the classroom. But he would make us our elephants so that could go across, and it was very sweet.
So that's the book I use, and we do a bridge building challenge. The other thing is librarians sometimes think, oh my God, I have no transition time. I'm leaving. I have kindergarten, and then I have 4th grade, and then I have 6th grade. How am I going to do this? I do the same materials. So if I'm doing a challenge with index cards, we're doing index cards and tape. That's what we're doing. That's the material prep. The book might change and the challenge might get more difficult. The easiest way to make a challenge more difficult, give them limiters. You can only have a foot of tape. You can only have 6 inches of tape. You can only have 10 index cards. You can teach them financial literacy. Make it a commodity. Everybody has $12. This is how much everything costs. What are you buying? So suddenly it's adding more and more elements of things we're trying to teach our students and things they don't really learn anywhere else. Because let's be honest, the first time elementary librarians are teaching financial literacy is at the book fair with the kid who brought the whole freaking bag of quarters. And you're like, okay, how much money do you have? Right? So, it's very nice to be able to do it in a not so high stakes place where they're not going to cry about the book they can't get.
But you just rattled off some amazing solutions that would simply take something that when you have very few restrictions, if any, on your kinders and your littles, to your upper grades who have done this project with few limits on them, but increasingly as they age up, it becomes harder. But all you've done is just change the parameters.
That's it. That's it.
And honestly, you've made things harder, but you've not had to actually make
not for yourself. You haven't had to make it harder. No. So yeah,
excellent.
I mean, and I often do it with Keva Planks. If you could invest in, like, if any librarians, like, I have some money, what should I get? Get the Keva Planks. I promise you, they last forever. I've had mine for 8 years. Get the nice ones. Don't get the pine ones. Get the other ones. If you can get a class set of Keva Planks, you can do almost any challenge with a Keva Plank. You can build anything. If you don't know what Keva Planks are, they're little wooden boards. They're all exactly the same. Symmetrical. They don't do anything special. They're all the same. But they're very wonderful because they're all the same. So the creativity is out the roof because they have to imagine. There's no like, I need the green Lego. There's none of that. They're all the same. And so what I will do is, for my kinders, they all get a bag of Keva Planks. Like I think I have 8 bags, so you get a bag. When I get to 6th grade, you get 25 Keva Planks. Make me a tower. And so we make a tower, and then maybe with my 6th graders, we try to put on as many books as we can before the tower falls. How many books can we get on there? With my kindergartners, we just take a picture, right? Like we're like, you did a great job. Let's take a picture. Can you show it to my mom? Absolutely, I can. And so that's just how I help the prep. And I think with STEAM, vertical articulation is so easy because you know what you need to teach your kinders to get them to build that tower by 4th grade. So if I want them to build with 25 planks in 4th grade, what am I going to have to teach them in kindergarten and 1st grade and 2nd grade? Just like we do in the library. How do I teach them how to find the books that by 4th grade they can just get it off the shelf? So it's not difficult. It's very easy. I do not do STEAM learning all year long. I want to put that out there. I do not. I usually pick like a quarter and a half for kids. Sometimes I'll pick it up and put it down. Like we'll do STEAM for a few weeks. I'll stop and then we'll pick it back up and then we'll put it back down. I just find that I have so much I want to teach the students, and there's so much, like in the beginning, we're still establishing routines, expectations, responsibility. So I can't start with like, hey, first week of school, let's do a bridge building challenge. That's not going to happen. I'm still teaching them how to walk into the library. I'm still teaching them where to sit. At this point in the year, this is when I say I really start to love kindergarten, is right after 1st quarter. 1st quarter with kindergarten is like herding cats. Everyone who's taught kindergarten knows this. There's these little kittens and they're so darn cute, but they don't know anything. And we only see them once a week. How do you establish a routine when we only see them once a week? So by now, they've figured school out mostly, and we can start maybe incorporating some STEAM. My 6th graders, on the other hand, this is about the time they get a bit more obnoxious and they're ready to go to middle school. So at this point, now I'm ready to also give them STEAM because, hey, let me start challenging you so you can't goof off anymore. Let me start giving you something that's going to challenge your brain. Some of these challenges are only for 1 week. Some of them, they may last more than 1 week. You just got to find yourself a storage area. I like to save copier boxes. I just save the copier boxes and I throw them in. And I put them on top of the shelves, y'all. I just literally throw them on top of there.
And listeners who have tuned in over the past, when we have talked about, especially like makerspace, it is funny because one of my guests, and I'm trying to remember who it was, basically said, the problem is that custodians will come in and throw things out that look like trash.
Yes.
And they've had to like demark a space.
Not trash.
And it says not trash.
Not trash.
This is a student's project.
Yes.
And it's like, it is very, you can see where this, and I know it's happened in contemporary art museums as well,
yes.
where somebody will sweep up something and you're like, oh no, or they'll take the banana off
yes,
of the duct tape on the wall.
They eat the banana.
The banana was eaten and it was part of the art installation. It is always interesting to remember that not everybody sees what you see, and you'll see all your students' projects in process, and somebody cleaning up might think they're doing you a favor.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Other thing I will say is, as librarians, we're always advocating for ourselves in our programs, and STEAM just lends itself into that because kids love to get their pictures taken with their creations forever. And whatever method that you have to bring out to parents, we have something called talking points, which is like I know some schools use class dojos. Everyone has something different. Some of them just use Canvas. Some of them use Schoology. We have all sorts of things. But whatever way it is, if you send out pictures to parents, especially on the elementary level, they love it. Like I have a 4-year-old, the pictures I get from daycare are like my favorite thing in the whole world. And I think to myself, our kids get bigger, our students get bigger, but parents are still parents. We still love to see what our kids do. Why don't we show them the library? Show them what they're doing in the library. Even if the bridge is half falling apart, it's okay. They don't need to know that. Just send the pictures. And that's a great advocacy piece with parents and your parent community. And then suddenly when you're asking the PTA for some money, they know you're teaching STEAM. So they're going to give you the money, or they'll give you some of the money, because that's what happens with us. I said, hey, we've already done Ozobots. I need something else for the little kids. Would you maybe fund Blue Bots for me? And they funded Blue Bots one year. And then I said, hey, remember you guys bought me those microbits like 6 years ago? I loved them. They're so great. My kids are ready to move on. Would you buy us these finches? And then one year they bought us the finches. Now I've been doing this for 7 years, so things have added with time, but pick your priorities, right? Like maybe you just want Legos. I will say if you're a Title I school, we are not, but we are a military school we support military families. First Book has in their marketplace recycled Legos regularly. So sometimes they're free, sometimes they're like $5. What I love about them is they don't match. There's no sets, there's no rhyme or reason. So if the kid walks off with one, I won't even know. I don't even care. Like, go for it, buddy. Like, you really want that one piece? Happy. Go for it.
Well, I know some librarians have had a great deal of success just getting donations from families where, like, here are these sets of Legos which are no longer built the way that, the box had us build them, which is, and there is going to never be that. It's never going to be replicated.
No.
It's never going to, no one's ever
going
to like,
that's what I want it to
no,
be.
they're not going to take it apart and then build it back the same way. No. And so oftentimes you get those very grateful parents who have moved out of a phase that their children are no longer in. And they're like, take it. Just take everything.
And I also asked my parent community for things like right around now, it's around the holidays, I will ask them to save their gift wrap tubes. Because with our Ozobots, if you want to put a costume on it, a tube is the best. Or I ask for paper towel tubes. I personally do not like toilet paper tubes. They just skeeve me out a bit. So I always say, hey, can I have paper towel tubes or gift wrap tubes? And if they ask me why, I say I like this longer length. I don't need to tell people why they skeeve me out, but that's kind of some of the caveat. But or if I need cardboard, I don't normally do a ton with cardboard, but I do ask for cardboard tubes often. And right around now is about the time I ask, because they're going to start wrapping gifts for the holidays and they can save them. Yeah.
Well, I got to be honest, Kannan, you've made my job very easy. Usually I'm really just trying to pull some ideas out of my guests, and you've just been very incredibly generous with your experience, and it's very contagious. I imagine that this kind of success has a way of, spilling into the other schools in your district.
I hope so. There's a handful of librarians who love doing STEAM, and they do STEAM. Like I said, I work in a huge district. We even have like a lending program that teachers can sign up for, things like that. But you can only sign up for like once or something like that. But I also, I've offered my materials to other librarians. Hey, you want to borrow my Keva Planks for a week? But this is like a huge district, so we can do that. But yeah, buy nothing. If your neighborhood has a buy nothing, put it out there, because they love to give you things and donations. And I know this year Donors Choose was really funding a lot of STEAM projects, that a lot of people put STEAM proposals into Donors Choose and they were getting funded. I did not, and I regret it, but that's okay. Kudos to everybody else who did it. But yeah.
So for people who have, I know that there are listeners who feel that one of our primary responsibilities to our school and our student body is to really build literacy and a love of reading.
Right.
So how has your STEAM and STEM and computer science helped build your students as readers?
I would say because I link the books, right, to the projects, that's pretty successful. This has not affected my circulation at all. I will say on the elementary level, I have a dedicated audience. They show up every week. They're always there. They're always get out books, right? And maybe I'm spoiled that way because it is so. But the other thing is, this is making them become creative and critical thinkers. So what they're doing is they're coming to me and saying, hey, do you have any more books on how to code in Scratch? Hey, do you have any books on this? And I do. Imagine that. I have the books. My Lego books, I have all the Lego books, all the books that are like, hey, 25 Lego creations with bricks you already have. They love those. Those fly off the shelves because of this. A lot of my narrative nonfiction about building or creating games like the Monopoly, there's one like Just Don't Pass Go. I think it's about the story of Monopoly. That book has taken off because we had to design a game. And Mrs. Cangro, do you have any books about designing games? So that's one way that definitely helps the students with reading. The other thing is, when I do this with the upper grades, I talk about self-managing their checkout. So they come for 30 minutes and I say, hey, you are self-managing your checkout, just the way you self-manage your books. I have unlimited checkout in my building. Sometimes I really regret that, but I do, and I never market it as unlimited. Hot tip, librarians never market it as unlimited. I market it as we self-manage our books. So you know your schedule for the week. How many books can you read this week? Can you read 5 books? Hey, Thanksgiving's coming. We're going to be home for 5 days. Are you going to grandma's? Maybe you don't need 5 books. Are you not going to grandma's? Everyone's coming to your house? Maybe you need 6 books, right? Take what you need. You have to be able to carry them. They have to be able to fit in your backpack. You have to be able to return them on time. So that's self-managing your books. So they've already heard that from me about self-managing their books. So now we talk about self-managing your checkout. So you're self-managing your time. You have 30 minutes. You decide with your partner or your group when you're checking out. I have self-checkout. It's very easy. And that's the other thing I tell librarians. A lot of librarians are afraid of self-checkout. They're like, what if the books walk? You guys, they walk anyway. They're just walking, okay? So I just accept it as a tax that I pay as a librarian. I just pay this tax and I lose some books and I just hope that they come back. And when they come back, I go, hey, welcome back. We missed you, right? To the book. I do talk to the book. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I'm like, hey, welcome back. But yeah, so we talk about time management, and that is also a skill to teach a 3rd grader, a 4th grader in 30 minutes. And I say, I'm going to give you a 10-minute warning. That 10 minutes, when I give you that 10-minute warning, if you have not checked out, that is your time. You have 10 minutes. After that, I don't want to hear it. Like at that point, I gave you every warning. And they get very good at it. They figure it out. Some of them need a break in the middle. They go check out. Some of them want to do it at the beginning. They go check out. Some of them just want to know if their hold is there. Here's your holds. Here's not your holds. Go for it. Go check out. So yeah, and if a lot of times, like if I take pictures of my students, you'll see just a pile of books next to their Lego creations or whatever, because they have checked out at some point. With the younger kids, I build it in.
Couple things. You mentioned that you are very intentional, that you pick the groups, the kids do not.
Yes.
Do you use a randomizer or have you been more strategic?
Sometimes, well, I do ask if it's not a class I'm very familiar with, like a kindergarten class, I'll sometimes ask the teacher. If I have, obviously we have our students with 504s and IEPs and all that. And so I try to pair them the best I can with someone strong. But anytime we get to pick a group, anytime I get to pick a group, I pick my bestie. I always want my bestie. And the truth of the matter is there are kids. We are a military school. We have kids who are brand new this year. We have kids who are just making friends. We have kids who haven't found their place. Some of them have been here for 5-6 years and they still haven't found their place because they're kids. And so by me doing that, I'm forcing them to do it. I sometimes do randomizers, and sometimes you have to redo the groups. Let's be very honest. They're not all successful every time. There are some times where I'll be like, okay, this is not working. We're switching this. This is not working. And also sometimes I'll be like, hey, part of this is working together. If you can't work together, then you don't need to do this today. You need to go take a break.
Kannan, something that I'm just guessing there are listeners who are tuning in right now who, first of all, friends, you're going to love the resources. So Kannan put together not only a slide deck, but then you've got your lessons. You've got this sort of resource page and everything, friends, is hyperlinked so that everything that Kannan has been talking about is all wonderfully detailed and hyperlinked in a doc. And then you break down your lessons by grade level. Thank you so much. Yeah, pre-K to 6.
And that's not like, I do pre-K through 6. I don't teach every lesson every year. Just know that. I don't teach every lesson every year. I'm somebody who wants to look at a bank of lessons and be like, okay, I can do this, this, and this. Or how can I link this to content, right? Because that's the other thing as librarians. Everyone's like, well, how are you linking this to content? How are you linking this to science and social studies? And the truth is, if you just say, well, I'm doing STEAM learning, that's science. It's not. They don't like that. They don't like to hear that. So often I'll be like, oh, really? Because you're learning about caterpillars and butterflies in first grade. We are creating a habitat for a butterfly. Boom, suddenly you're on board, you're with the standards. My staff does not have time to collaborate with me anymore. This science of reading, we have a new reading basal, we have a math basal, and the collaboration I used to get from my teachers is not happening the last 2 years. So I like to be able to say, hey, you're learning about ants. Let's do something with ants. And then I know they go back to the classroom and go, we learned this in the library. And what better advocacy there, right? So that's another thing that I do. But yes, there is, I have a STEAM column and a computer science column. I have pre-K through 6. I don't teach pre-K, but I have a pre-K kid who I do, you guys, these 5 days when you have a pre-kindergartner, this is what I'm doing in my house. Like, hey, here's a robot. Let's try to program it. I mean, there comes a point where the crafts get old. But yeah, and so it's there. Feel free. I've tried most of them, so.
Listeners know I love a list, and you've created 3 columns of consumables, reusables, and technology. And this is where I feel all of a sudden that this is very accessible to me because so many of these things do not involve kits that you buy from a sort of a toy store or a science store, or, these are, so many of these things are like things that I have in my house. Yeah. So I love that because all of a sudden I feel like there's a really good chance that some of this I could hit the ground running with a certain level of success. I will say somebody listening right now is probably thinking to themselves, my God, this sounds like your library is a mess. So what do you do to keep the STEM computer science from taking over the space?
So one thing I do is I have a couple of bookshelves that are just for like kits. They're for the Lego EB3s and the WeDo. So those go on that. The Finches are also over there and the Blue Bots are over there. So those are all over there. Then as far as like the other stuff, I get the copier boxes and I throw them on top of the shelf and I'll mark the class. I'll say, hey, this is kindergarten, this Mrs. Smith's class. That's their stuff. I have 2 rolling carts that I got from Scholastic years ago. They lock. I put a lot of bins in there. It's a little bit of organization. The big thing is I teach these kids how to clean up. And that I told myself I didn't want to teach kids how to clean up when I left the art room. Spoiler alert, I still do it all the time. So good thing that wasn't the only reason I became a librarian. But yeah, I mean, you teach the kids how to clean up. You have to give them time to clean up. So even though they're totally into something, I'll say, hey, you guys, it's time to clean up. And especially the littles, they have really hard time saying goodbye to their creations. So I say, hey, I'm going to take a picture for you. And now we're going to say bye-bye because these are school Legos. They're not home Legos. At home, you get to keep your things. At school, we have to take them apart and reuse them. And they're pretty good about that. Like, home Legos versus school Legos or home blocks versus school blocks. They understand that. For things that take more than 1 week, a Ziploc is my friend. Oh, I love a Ziploc. I will put their creation in a big 1-gallon Ziploc, right? You know, I usually give my groups like letters or numbers, group A, group B, group C. And on my list, it'll say A, B, C, D. And that's because I can use the bags year and year again. I'm using the same Ziplocs for the last 4 years. So, I mean, they're not really getting rid of the Ziplocs. They're just putting their Lego creation in it, putting it away, and then we're doing it again the next week. So, and as they walk through the door, I go, Group A, here's yours. Group B, here's yours. And they know and if they don't know, I have the paper on the table. I was like, you don't remember your group? Look on the paper and tell me your group. So as much as you can make the students independent, I also have a lot of self-serve stations in the library. The crayons are on a shelf. Help yourself, put them away. The free draw paper is on a shelf. Help yourself, put them away. The pencils are on. As much as we can give our students autonomy, even the littlest ones, they can handle it. We just have to teach them the routine and teach them how to do it. They can do it. They can do it, especially if it's something they want to do. And let me tell you, STEAM is something they want to do. They like it.
Wow. Kannan, you are a goddess. I swear, friends, those of you who tune in regularly, if you were hoping to hear the dulcet tones of Amy Herman today, I'm sorry. I'm just going to sit here and it's Kannan's going to take over.
Please no.
And truly,
please no.
I'm going to tell you what, you've made my job easy. And I'm so grateful because there are a lot of people tuning in right now who would like to dip a toe. They would like to dip a toe and they would like, and you've given us everything we need to get started and to be able to start to do something. And friends, never wait until, we have to wait till the beginning of the school year. Like, it has to, no, we're going to start now.
Hey, this is a really great time. This is so good because if you're like me, we have about 3 full weeks before winter break, 3 or 3.5 to 4. So I'm going to give you an example of a lesson that I teach. This is not completely mine. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. There's a wonderful elementary librarian supervisor in my district named Jill Woodall. Shout out to Jill. She came to me when we were writing some lessons. We wrote lessons for librarians in our county. If you all need a job, y'all, Fairfax County, Virginia, come work with us. We love you. We would love to have you. But we have elementary STEAM lessons for librarians in my district. You don't need them. I've given you a lot of information. You don't need those lessons, my friends. I've given them to you. However, she came to me and she said, Kannan, I came up with a lesson about the book, I Am Not a Chair. We all love that book, I Am Not a Chair. She's like, so I have first grade, they're going to make a chair. And she's like, what can I do? I was like, all right, second grade, read them I Am Not a Chair. They're making a chair. Now that chair has to also be something else. It has to be a chair and it has to be something else. Okay, now we have third grade. You're reading them I Am Not a Chair. They need to make a chair, but you're giving them a limiter. So they can only have X amount of something, right? And so now you're taking that same book, 3 grade levels. You could even do with kindergarten, just make a chair. 3 grade levels, 4 grade levels, same book, same challenge, different results. And so you can do it, and you can do that with index cards and tape. So, go to the supermarket and buy some Scotch tape and index cards. You can do that next week.
I love it. I'm hoping that you will come back in the new year and enthrall us again because, friends, Kannan, in addition to presenting at the national conference, you also presented at your state level conference, correct?
Yes. So this year I presented, actually, I was very lucky. I work in a wonderful school. I work with a wonderful administrator. My administrator actually won our state association's Administrator of the Year award this year. So shout out to her. It took a while, y'all, but I'm a firm believer in people who help us. We raise them up. So she has always greenlit things for me. And so I have been trying to raise her up. And she won this award. So this year we presented on how to build a strong librarian-principal connection. And you guys may think, oh, but you have this wonderful admin. You guys, she's really great, but I've had to build the relationship, right? So a lot of it is us. A lot of it is what we do. So I did present with her, but I've presented for a few years now. I've presented a while. It was my first time at AASL as a presenter. It was my second time at AASL. But yeah, so I presented about that, but I presented about STEAM to Virginia librarians. I've also presented about how to find your light and to re-find your light as a librarian, because I've also gone through that, right? When you're just like, I'm in a rut, what am I doing? And a lot of us, you can wake up tomorrow and be there. I've been there. So yeah, I have presented and happy to talk about any of those things.
And Kannan, again, you've made my job easy. This has been an incredible. I'd like to call it a conversation. I really did. You've done some heavy lifting today.
Oh no, it's nothing.
The passion you bring to this conversation is palpable.
I would also give like one last piece of advice to someone who's about to teach us. You guys don't need to know anything. Like, you don't need to know. You don't need to know like all the things and how it works. And you will figure it out with your students. They will figure it out faster than you can, and they will teach you. And that's the best part of our job. I love when they out-teach me. Teach me something I didn't know, and they can do it. And so just start small. Start with something little. It will not be a bust. I promise you. They'll enjoy it. Pick something easy and it'll be fine. It'll be okay.
Kannan Cangro, you are amazing. Would you let listeners know how we can find you on social media?
Sure. I'm on most socials at @CangroLib for Library Lib. If you message me on X, formerly known as Twitter, that's like, you might as well just send me a smoke signal. I don't check it. However, Instagram, Blue Sky, you can find me there. You can also email me. It's kcangro@gmail.com. I am happy to be anybody's collaborator. Happy for you. Yeah.
Thank you for your generous spirit today. It is so desperately needed when you realize we really are just looking to make our program more valuable and essential to just the school and to the students we support and the teachers that we're trying to help every day. Kannan, I wish you a wonderful, festive Thanksgiving holiday with your family and a happy New Year, because we're gonna connect again in 2026.
Yes,
okay?
For sure. And to all the listeners, happy Thanksgiving and a happy New Year. Well, after Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Happy after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much.
All right, sounds great. You're welcome.
Friends, if you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. If you are curious to know how often your state or country has been featured on the podcast, then simply click on the link, which can be found in our show notes. Search by title, author, state, and country, and do a Command F search. I hope this is the year you consider being a guest on the show. Please visit our FAQs in every episode, and you'll realize just how easy it is. Friends, we all have something to share. Make Season 8 your time to shine. As we head into the busy holiday season, I will do my best to continue to shine a light on the amazing work school librarians do each and every day. And when those episodes are posted on your favorite podcast app, I hope you will tune in.